In this section we're going to look at section labeled Using Solver to Solve Complex Problems on page 581. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole book. What we need to do is we need to go to our Data tab and look for Solver over here. Now, if Solver is not there, then it needs to be added in. So if that does not appear, which it does not by default, you need to go to your File tab over here and go to Options. And there's a group over here called Add-ins. And there's a number of other things that can be added in. They're available, but are not added into Excel by default. And you want, if it's not available on yours, it'll be under the Inactive Application Add-ins. You just need to click on Solver Add-in down here. And well, I click on Go down here, and it'll give you a list of what's available, and Solver Add-in should be turned on. Click on OK, and then it should appear up here on the end of your Data tab. Okay, so once you get that working, then we can go on to page 583, and we want to click the Solver button to display the Solver Parameters dialog box. So let's click on Solver here, and here's our Solver Parameters dialog box. Click the Collapse dialog button in the Set Objective text box right here, so it collapses it down to this. And we want to select E11, it says, which is this cell right here. And then we want to open this back up again, and I don't know if we really need to keep opening it and closing it. I guess it depends on how wide your screen is here. Click the Max button if it's not already selected. It's already selected, so we're good. So we're saying we want E11 to be the biggest value it can possibly be. And the things that we want it to change in order to make this happen are B8 to B10. So here's B8 to B10, and C9 and C10. Whoops, let's do that again. We need to hold the Control key down. Select those, and then we want D8 and D9, which is these two. And it makes those absolute cell references with commas in between the ranges. And now we're on the top of page 584. Click the Add button to display the Add Constraint dialog box. So let's click on the Add button right here. And we've got to tell it, it's going to try changing these numbers here, but it's got to have some guidelines to go by. And we have to tell it what those constraints are. So we want B8 to B10 to be visible, so we're going to select those. And we want those to be greater than or equal to 0. And we're going to add that, and that's our first rule. And then we want B8 to B10, and they can only be integers. We don't want to manufacture half or a fraction of something. And so here's how you say that they have to be integers. And click on Add. And then go to E8. E8 is right here. And this has to be at least, so that means greater than or equal to the number in B20. This is our constraint down here. We need to have at least that many, and we can click on Add to add that. And now we're on yet another constraint, and it says to enter the remaining constraints shown in table 9.2 on page 583. And this is where it's easy to make a mistake. We've already done the first let me see, we've done the first two, B8 to B10, and now let's go here, and we said that they have to be greater or equal to 0. They have to be integers. The third one has to do with C9 and C10, which are those two, and they have to be greater than or equal to 0 as well. Add that rule. And those two also have to be integers, so let's say that they have to be int, and add that rule. And D8 and D9, these two cells right here, also have to be greater than or equal to 0, and we add that rule. D8 and D9 also have to be integers. Let's add that rule. E8, I think I've already added that rule. It has to be greater than or equal to B20. Yeah, we did that one, so we can skip that. E9 has to be greater or equal to B21. Greater than or equal to B21 right here. Add that rule. E10 has to be greater than or equal to B22. Add that rule. And B13, this number right here, has to be less than or equal to B19, which is the total days. Add that rule. C13 has to be less than or equal to the total number of days. Add that rule. And D13, total days to make that, has to be less than or equal to total days. Add that rule. And that's all the rules on page 583. And it says when finished with the final constraint, click the OK button. And click on OK, and we just this is kind of annoying. Just click on cancel. There's nothing left to add. And our constraint box should look like this. This should match what's on figure 941 at the bottom of page 585. And if you just go down the list here, just double check. Notice they've named some of the cells here. So instead of B19 showing up, there's a name here. And same thing for these other three numbers down here. They've been given names, which helps with the readability a little bit. Now we need to select a solving method, and let's click on the down arrow here, and we want simplex LP. And if you're not familiar with these methods, don't worry about it. In the textbook, when you're solving problems, they'll tell you which one they want. And if you take a business class that covers this stuff, they'll talk about the differences between them. Now we're on to number 7 on page 586. Click the Solve button right here. And it comes up with some answers for us. And we've got 300, which is greater than or equal to 300. We've got 590, which is greater than or equal to 500. 150, which is greater than or equal to 150. And all three of these numbers here for the number of days are less than or equal to 20. And we want to create a report from this. And there's three kinds of reports we can do. We're going to do an answer report, and we're going to click on OK. And it inserts a new worksheet down here that has our answer report on it, which is what's down on the bottom of page 587, figure 946. And the numbers here show what we started out with. There's that negative 60 that we had, and over here it shows what we ended up with. And we want this over here after the show inventory. and double-click Answer Report 1 tab. We're going to rename it. We're going to call this Show Inventory Answer Report 1, and we're going to make it green accent 1. Got to hit the Enter key first, hit the Enter key, and now right-click on it and go to Tab Color. And we want green accent 1, which is right here. And it just tells you to scroll down and look at the rest of it here. There's a little bit more to it than appears on the screen. And that's how you use Solver. The hardest part of using Solver is usually you have a lot of rules, like the rules on page 583, and it's real easy to do one of them incorrectly, and if you do, you won't get the right answer. So you need to be very careful when you're putting in all the rules, just because there's usually a bunch of them, and it's so easy to make a mistake. So that takes us to the end of that section. We'll stop the video here, and the next video will be on using scenarios.